the East Coast, and good afternoon or late night, wherever you're joining us from. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to I believe our 7th annual Evening of Learning with the Greater Washington Jewish Community. And as you know, our theme this year is racial justice and Jewish values, which we'll talk about more in a moment. But first, I just wanted to just kind of mark the moment. This is an event that we've been holding as an in-person learning event for many years. And JTS has tremendous partnerships in the Greater Washington community, just so many amazing, strong conservative synagogues that join with us to put on a wonderful evening of learning every year. Last year we canceled, everything was all very new and disorienting. And this year we really wanted to learn together again. So we're so grateful to the community for hosting us virtually in this way. We're really happy to be back with you this year. And we're also really glad that because we are in a virtual environment, we were able to open the event beyond the local community. So thanks to everyone, both locally and beyond the local, beyond the Greater Washington community for joining us. Special thanks to all of our partners in the Greater Washington community for co-sponsoring the program. And when the publicity went out, we heard from Beth El of the South Hills, not even in Greater Washington, saying we want to partner too. So thank you to Beth El as well. I'm going to turn in a moment to some of my local colleagues to kind of welcome us on behalf of the community. I wanted to just say a couple of words in introduction to the topic, but it's almost a topic that needs no introduction. We can't help but be focused on the issue of racial justice right now, really as it should be. Our awareness has been heightened to the appropriate level in ways that maybe it wasn't in the past. But how often do we explore the theme in terms of Jewish values and Jewish texts? So we're really grateful to our faculty for helping us in that particular exploration tonight. What does our tradition, what guidance does our tradition provide us in this area of great importance? Racial justice is an area that JTS has been involved in for a long time, dating back to Abraham Joshua Heschel, which is one of our sessions tonight, and up until today, and in our final panel, which I really hope you'll stay for, you'll be hearing about some tremendous work that's happening today around racial justice. So thank you for joining us to explore this extremely important topic through a Jewish lens. And with that, I'd like to turn things over to my colleagues, Rabbi Aaron Alexander and Rabbi Sarah Krinsky of Agudas Israel, to welcome us on behalf of the local community.
Rabbi Krinsky is going to start.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Rabbi Andelman, for bringing this group together. It's so wonderful to see all of these colleagues and friends, and I see congregants from Agudas and from BJ in New York, and this is it's tremendous blessing. And thanks also, Rabbi Andelman, for giving us an opportunity to welcome you sort of to DC, welcome you to the airwaves emanating from the DMV, and also to share a bit about how we have entered into this work at Agudas, this sort of ongoing work around racial justice. So to start, we thought that we would share a brief word of Torah. We can't help ourselves. They knew what they were getting into when they asked us. So there's a pasuk, a verse from this week's Parsha that has a place of prominence in American history, in American historical lore. It's inscribed on the Liberty Bell. And on the Liberty Bell, what it says is, proclaim liberty throughout the land for all its inhabitants. Now, this verse comes from Parshat Bahar, Leviticus chapter 25, verse 10, where it says, V'kidashtem et shnat hachamishim shana, ukratem dror ba'aretz l'chol yoshveha. You shall hallow the 50th year. You shall proclaim release throughout the land for all its inhabitants. And then the verse goes on to say, it shall be a yovel, a jubilee for you, Each of you shall return to their holding, to his or her holding, and each of you shall return to their family. So the rabbis picked apart essentially every single word in this verse. What does it mean to sanctify a year? There's some repetition that bothered them that was sort of rich fodder for midrashim. But in particular, there's one sort of problem spot that many of the commentators focused on. And that was this piece that says, you shall proclaim liberty throughout the land for all of its inhabitants. And what the Pnei Yehoshua from the 17th century, among others, asked is, why would it say you shall proclaim liberty for all inhabitants? Shouldn't the verse just have said, you shall proclaim liberty for all who are enslaved or for all slaves? And what he says is, in a land where there is no liberty, even for a minority of its inhabitants, all of the inhabitants are enslaved, right? So he says that we have to say not just for all who are enslaved shall be free, but all inhabitants shall be free, to remember to look in pockets of civilization and pockets of our society for injustices where we might not have thought to check, right? I'll say that his comment felt a little bit all lives matter-y to me, but I think really what he was saying is in the fight against oppression, right? When in our fight against bias or systemic injustices, we can't just look in the usual places. And so at Agudas, what we've tried to do is really to explore kind of the nooks and crannies, both the places that are obvious in our country and in our city in which racial tensions and racial biases and racial injustices and all of these ills are present, but also to look in places like the DC budget, the zoning laws, the housing restrictions, to look at places like our synagogue's bulletin board and website and board of directors and internal policies to make sure that we are reflecting the diversity of the Jewish community and also our values, and to use this lens and also this obligation to make sure that we are checking ourselves, that in our own pursuit of this drawer, of this liberty, that we're not missing places in which racism has laid its pernicious eggs.
Amen. Amen. Our tradition has a formula for this work. And this is difficult work. This is difficult work. To a certain extent, the conversation that we have internally is I don't know, the easy part. Chazal taught re'iyah mevi'ah lidei zechira, that to confront or to witness or to have vision of that which is in front of us ought to bring us to zechira, memory. And memory in our tradition is not passive. It is fully active. In fact, memory includes generally the recitation of words or the creation of communication. And zechira, the rabbi said, the moment in which we turn what it is we see in the world into memory, mivi'ah lidei asiyah, brings us to action. The three of them are connected in a way that to sever one from the three breaks down what becomes the transformative process that our tradition has given us. And so we tend to be pretty good at the re'iyah, at noticing what's wrong with the society. And we actually tend to be pretty good with zechira, with memory, with connecting our stories to the stories of others and to articulating what those stories are. But for so many of us, and now we're looking internally as well, the work around racial justice ends at zechira because the conversation is complicated and it's nuanced and there's no fix and it's too big, and all of the reasons why those of us who have the luxury to end at conversation can't figure out what asiyah is for what Rabbi Krinsky described as the vision for what our society could look like. And so our blessing tonight is that the learning we do together be a beginning for some of us, a middle for some of us, and an end for none of us. An end for none of us. It should bring us together and send us out. And we're very grateful to JTS for convening this group together to be the next one that walks out into the world, moving from zechira to asiyah. And thank you again, Rabbi Andelman and JTS, for inviting us to be a part of this. And we're grateful to be with our colleagues and our wider DC community tonight.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Krinsky and Rabbi Alexander. I feel like I can't help say it's so great to see the two of you. It's just wonderful to see colleagues. We're all sad to be apart for so long, but it's great to see you and our other local colleagues in this context. So thank you for those beautiful words of Torah, for the kavanot of proclaiming a drawer, proclaiming freedom, and what that really needs to mean for us in terms of asiyah, action, and not excusing ourselves by just doing the learning. So, main to what you said, may this be a night of learning that also propels us into action to really make freedom the reality in this country. So on that note, we're going to turn to the first of our study sessions. So this session will run from, we'll give ourselves a reprieve of 2 minutes or so. It's scheduled for 6:45, so let's say 6:47 until 7:37. We're going to be using breakout rooms for that. So in just one moment, we're going to be opening 3 breakout rooms. You can self-assign. The way you do that, if you don't already know, is it'll say the name of each room, the topic and scholar who are teaching us, and thank you so much to our faculty in advance. And then it should have a number of people in that room, a numeral, and if you click on that number, you'll see an option to join. Click join, and then you'll go into the room. If you have any trouble joining, you can initiate a chat with Stacy Firestone in using the Zoom chat feature and tell her which room you want to go to, and she can assign you to the right room. So that's where we're going now. So Stacy, you can go ahead and open up those breakout rooms, and we look forward to a great first session of learning, followed by a break, another session of learning, and a wonderful closing. Enjoy. And if you forgot any of the sessions and you're deciding where to go, our JTS student Max Davis has just posted the descriptions in the chat.